Hey, real quick before we jump into today's episode. If you feel like you've been running discipleship programs, but not sure if you're actually making disciples, I have something I think will really help. We've just released a simple 7-day disciple making reset. I'll send you one short email a day with one practical step at a time, all designed to help you start right where you already live, work, and relate. Nothing new to add, just a clearer, simpler way to live this out. Check it out now at everydaydisciple.com/reset. That's everydaydisciple.com/reset. All right, now let's get into today's episode. My daughter recently gave me one of the best compliments she ever did. She says, "You and Ma, you're always kind of improving your life. You're not like self-help guru, weird,
Sure.
you know what I mean? But you look at stuff and you go like, I think we could do that better. I think I can learn more about that. Or that would just be a fun area to learn, right?"
It's funny that you say that in light of your grandparents, because as you were sharing, I was thinking about two different sets of my grandparents. You know, I come from a split home, so I actually have four sets of grandparents. I could tell you one of my grandpas is about as stubborn of an individual. I mean, he stopped learning 30 years ago. He doesn't care to engage any new conversation over what might change culturally. He was set in his ways. He was defiant. And then I have another grandparent that parallels almost exactly opposite the way he was. My other grandpa's this learner, and he's asking questions, even from me as a teenager, like, "Oh, I saw you at the baseball game, and I noticed you did this. Why did you do this?" There was this. So
Inquisitiveness there.
is
part of being a learner.
stubbornness almost the opposite effect of a lifelong learner? Is that the result of it?
It might be. Which one would you rather be around and feel like I could learn from this person?
I could tell you which one nobody ever wanted to be around.
Right?
Welcome to the Everyday Disciple podcast, where you'll learn how to live with greater intentionality and an integrated faith that naturally fits into every area of life. In other words, discipleship as a lifestyle. This is the stuff your parents, pastors, and seminary professors probably forgot to tell you. And now, here's your host, Caesar Kalinowski.
How you doing there, Heath?
Doing great, man. Yourself?
Great. I'm excited for this episode and something I've given a lot of time to, both being a learner, but also reading, but also giving a lot of time to this episode. So yeah, excited to get started.
Yeah, and today we're going to talk about the process of what it actually looks like to be a lifelong learner.
Cool term.
Yeah, it's a really cool term. So maybe you can give us a little bit of a brief overview as far as like where we might be going over the next 25 minutes or so.
Okay, yeah, this idea of being a lifelong learner is important because I think so often when we think of learning as what we did in school or what we did in seminary.
Sure.
And after that, it's sort of like we just pick up facts as needed or read the news or whatever so we can vote or whatever. But the idea of being a lifelong learner is saying, hey, intentionally, I'm going to put time and effort and thought into what am I learning and am I engaging in important areas of life to be improving and growing wiser and maturing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it makes a big difference. It really does.
Yeah, I find the older I get, the less I know. And, I used to have this theology that
So
was
true.
figured out, and I had God wrapped up exactly how I wanted him, and I could explain almost everything.
I'm excited for our listeners, too, to share. I'm a little bit older, get feeling older every day. And I've been a reader, but it's not just about reading, as we're going to talk about. It's really about being intentional and how we determine what we'll read or engage in or spend our time. And I've found that once you that becomes part of your jam, kind of that's who you are, you will crave wanting constant, learning and growth. And let's
Maybe
dive
we can
into
unpack like this. This might be a new phrase for some people. Are you talking, as you just said, not necessarily from an academic standpoint, but how would you unpack the phrase lifelong learner, and why is it so important to remain one for our duration of our lives?
Good. Well, like I said, it's not, being a learner is not just college or sort of, taking a class now and then or that mandatory retraining for our jobs, but it's this idea of always growing, always expanding, and then taking the time to bring intentionality to it. And what I found is if you're not growing in every area of life, chances are that you've probably grown complacent there.
Yeah.
You think about, there's a lot of important stuff, but we don't necessarily give any time to getting better at it or learning more about it, right? And if we've gone complacent in a particular topic or area of our life, healthy things grow. We don't feed things; they might be sliding back down the slope, right? So important things like our marriage, parenting, leadership skills, character development, they all really deserve time and effort that we give to growth and maturity. Whatever we can give, those are areas that deserve that type of growth. And here's what's amazing is the effect it has on others in your life. It's actually tangible and really, really powerful too. It's not just sort of like, hey, for my benefit, I feel smarter,
Sure.
but it affects all of life, especially I think for leaders, for dads,
Yeah.
for everybody. No, really, everybody.
Well, it reminds me of, as you're talking now, of episode 504 about how to talk about politics without being a jerk. And the posture was lifelong learner, even in politics, is more about asking questions. It's a heart of humility rather than thinking you have it all together. It's
I think
submitting.
that same heart's important to be a lifelong learner because as we're going to see, one of the steps, like one of the sort of tricks I give you for the process is, getting alongside people that are smarter than you. Well, first off, you have to admit that some people know something that you don't know or a little more than you do, right? Or whatever. And we're going to get into that. Here's another thing. Studies show that people who have remained, engaged in lifelong learning, they actually stay productive and emotionally healthy throughout all of their life. Like just, the storms of life and stuff that comes at them, even well into old age. And I've watched my grandparents grow old, and now they've passed. And one side of my grandparents, I swear, they retired at age 62. And my grandpa went on 1 week-long trip to Florida, and my grandma wasn't happy about it. And after that was at 63. After that, they never left the house until they died in their 80s. My grandma died at 90. I'm not joking. Like
That's tragic.
Like go to the grocery store, maybe.
But they're not getting out.
There was no. I mean, it was the craziest thing. They didn't engage in anything, and so you're just kind of waiting. You're marking time, right?
Yeah.
and that's not most of our listeners. They're not like waiting to die or whatever, or
Sure.
approaching. Some have already retired, I'm sure. But yeah, I mean, think about it. Like I want to stay a learner. My daughter recently gave me one of the best compliments she ever did. She says, "You and Ma, like you're always kind of improving your life. You're not like self-help guru, weird,
Sure.
you know what I mean? But you look at stuff and you go like, I think we could do that better. I think I can learn more about that. Or that would just be a fun area to learn, right?
It's funny that you say that in light of your grandparents, because as you were sharing, I was thinking about 2 different sets of my grandparents. I come from a split home, so I actually have 4 sets of grandparents. I could tell you one of my grandpas is about as stubborn of an individual. I mean, he stopped learning 30 years ago. He doesn't care to engage any new conversation over what might change culturally. He was set in his ways. He was defiant. And then I have another grandparent that parallels almost exactly opposite the way he was. My other grandpa's this learner, and he's asking questions, even for me as a teenager, like, I saw you at the baseball game, and I noticed you did this. Why did you do this? There was this. So is
inquisitiveness there.
Yeah,
that's
is
part of being a learner.
stubbornness almost the opposite effect of a lifelong learner? Is that the result of it?
It might be. Which one would you rather be around and feel like I could learn from this person?
I could tell you which one nobody ever wanted to be around.
Right?
Yeah.
Part of why it works this way, Heath, is that if we, learning, right? If we can change what we think about something, change our focus, or that truth that's in our head, or add to it, then that begins to change what we believe.
Sure.
Like what we think changes what we believe. And then different belief leads to different actions and or sometimes even emotions. I've heard it called like head, heart, hands, right?
Okay.
So that's why if you want to live differently or you want to have different emotional life or whatever, part of that's being a lifelong learner. If you stay right where you're at, this is what I think about something. This is what I believe. This is all the knowledge I have. This is all the experience I have. This is all the exposure to other areas of thought. Then you're kind of stuck there. And if you're not digging your life or you're not that part of your life, that area of your life isn't great,
Yeah.
well, that's another reason to be a lifelong learner, right? And what I'm going to suggest here today is that we can actually get real intentional about it instead of just going like, that kind of sucks. I should probably, read an article or two. It's like, no, let's go ahead and map out our year. How about that?
Yeah.
And that's something I try to do.
It's that intentionality, right?
Right. I try to do that, and I don't want anybody to think like, oh man, like this guy's a machine. Like everything I say here, I just nail it perfectly all year long.
Sure.
But the basics of this, it's kind of part of how I roll now because I intentionalize this. I want to be a lifelong learner.
Yeah.
I want to be wiser in, you pick a topic of importance, parenting, my marriage. I want to be better next year than I was this last year. In 5 years, I want to have better character in my life.
Sure.
And my family to be richer. And so anyway. Yeah.
So you're setting this up. I'm excited about it. I want to be a lifelong learner. I don't want to be like my grandpa that nobody wanted to be around. I want my kids to
Sorry,
ask-
Gramps.
Yeah, sorry, Gramps. He's no longer with us, unfortunately. But the thing is, how do you suggest that we actually get to live like this? How do we stay lifelong learners for all of life? Can we incorporate this into our busyness every day?
Yeah, I think you can. Okay, so here's what I want to say. Start off by taking a bit of an assessment of the areas in your life that are important to you. Okay, so some of our listeners are married, some are not. Some have kids, some of their kids are grown, some don't have kids, So start by taking an assessment of the areas in your life that are important to you. And these will give you some ideas of the things that you should keep growing in because they're important to you.
Yeah.
So here's a partial or potential, list of areas from my own life or in general, just to give people an idea.
Sure.
Things like health.
Okay.
Learn more about your health and how to stay healthy. Or if you want to lose 10 pounds, like how do I do that as a lifestyle versus, crash diet and then I gain back 12 or 15.
Sure.
Family, parenting, marriage, areas of your faith, right? And that's not just like knowledge, but that's like, if I read a book on theology recently or an area of scripture that I want to grow in or an attitude from scripture and discipleship, that's another area. Work and career. Are you intentionally being a learner when it comes to your job and your career? Because it says work unto the Lord. Well, I want to do a better and better job at my job every year.
Constantly growing.
Yeah, and it's not just so you can get paid more. That's a benefit, right?
Sure.
Sometimes, usually. But character. How about the area of your character? If you like, it's important for me to grow in my character. Well, write that down. Leadership. Millions of books on leadership. All kinds of time management. All that stuff falls into that. Finances.
Yeah.
Like are you crushing your finances and you really manage it where it's like now I didn't really think about it and it's like there's no stress or like, no, I'm kind of still, and even if you have, well, what if you read books on finances that help you to actually do better financially so you get to be a blessing to more people? Cool. Or how about history? They say like, if we don't know history, we're bound to repeat it.
Yep.
So like I love biographies. They're again connected to areas of life that are important to me or a person I go, man, that person's life is worth imitating.
Yeah.
So I'm going to read a biography on that person and try to learn from some of their mistakes or their experiences or the stuff they do well, right? So those are kind of give you an idea. So again, first step is, sort of do an assessment and write down, what do you think are 5, 6, 7, whatever areas you go, really important to me. These are important areas of life and I would love to grow in them.
That leads me to a question that, as we've talked and my family, we've got 4 kids. We're in the thick of it. This comes up a lot in the podcast. Would you say 5, 6, 7 is great? Or would you say, hey man, your season of life, pick 2 or 3 and then reassess in a year? Or would you go throw out as many as you want and do a book a year in each one of those? Or would you say, no, really try to focus down from 10 maybe areas to maybe 2 for this next 3 months?
Well, I think some of it's going to have to do with your own capacity for reading.
Sure.
And reading, was we're going to talk about, is not the only way.
Mm-hmm.
That's one aspect of it. Okay. So really, let me park reading for just a second and say, I think at first, create the categories.
Okay. Just
start with that. For some people, that's going to be a revelation. Like I've never taken the time to actually sit down and write out what categories of my life are important to me.
Sure.
I could knee jerk and go like, well, my family and my church.
Yeah.
Okay, but what about it? Like I'm going to grow in the area of church. No. What about what area specifically in your faith?
Yep.
I want to grow in prayer. I want to grow in my understanding of grace. I want to start being a more merciful or generous person. Great, but there's ways to learn to be, and not only books. There's other
TED
things.
Talks.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff. We're going to talk about that. So anyway, I'd say go ahead and write them down, and then I'd say once you've done that, right, the areas that you want to be growing in, then prioritize them into like your top 5 or 6. Okay. Maybe that's a good start. Some people are going to go like, no, I read like crazy, or I have all kinds of time. I'm retired, so I'm going to put down 12 and I'm going to get after them. You're still going to have to start one at a time. So
Sure.
you can always add, but I'd say at least, put them into the area, give them a priority of like your top 5 or 6.
Okay.
Or maybe you take the whole list and you put them in the order of most important to least important in your life right now. So you go, I'm going to start at the most important. Like this area of life, if I could tip the scale up a little bit, big results, big benefit. So, like if you're, if I could grow in my area of parenting in the next couple of years, it's going to change my family's life a lot.
Yeah.
We're not doing that great a job, or I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm just having kids. Great.
Sure.
Or in the area of marriage, it's like, that's going to pay off huge dividends. So I'm going to put that up higher on the list than like reading a good historical biography. You know what I mean?
Sure. Absolutely.
Right? So things like that. Or finances, like if you're just like, oh my God, our life is so freaking stressed because my finances are a mess. I don't know what to do about it. Well, let's put that higher on the list.
Yeah.
Right. So maybe, you got a long list, prioritize it that way. Just most important to least important. Okay.
Okay.
So things like, health and family and marriage, if you're married, and parenting and faith and character, make sure those are closer to the top. Maybe then go after finances and other areas.
Okay. That's great, man.
Okay. So then what you want to do is you want to look at being a learner in these areas. And I'm going to give you 3 powerful ways to do that. Okay. You kind of hinted at one, and that's reading. I'm going to get there. Okay. But here, what I want to say first is, first powerful way to do it is, who do you know that's stronger or wiser than you in these areas? And then I want you to schedule time with them right away to talk and learn and ask for their recommendations for continued learning. Chances are someone you see in your life that you admire because you go like, wow, I want to have what they have in that area. I bet they have pretty good recommendations. It's probably not accidentally.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And they're going to give you at least the next step or two. It might not be 30 years worth of learning in that area, but go for it. And you know what else? They'll be honored that you asked them to do that. And you think about it, someone comes to you and goes, Heath, you're really good in this area, man. This is the area I want to grow in.
Yeah.
You're not like, get away from me, kid. I was like, I got no time for that.
Sure. Yeah,
right?
you want to help.
Yeah. And so they're going to want to help you. Okay. Next thing is, so first way that we stay a lifelong learner is get around people that are better at us at something with intentionality. Humble yourself and be with them. And then next, what experiences could you engage in or sign up for, right? Get involved in that will give you practical experience in learning in those same areas.
Okay.
So I don't know, top of mind. Is it like a marriage conference,
Yeah.
or a parenting conference? Tina and I, for years, like every year or every other year, we would go to family life conference, marriage sort of enrichment thing, right?
Yeah.
In some years, we were just going complete tune-up, like things are great. Other weeks, other years, we're going like, yeah,
We need it. Yeah.
time for some help here. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But we prioritize that because we realized this is not an area that we were raised real strong in or had all knowledge but we knew super important.
Yeah.
So that was an experience, right? It was like we carved out the time. We had to kind of save up the money for the conference and hotel, right? There's parenting conferences. Maybe you want to go on a missions trip because you want to understand mercy or the rest of the world better. Or you want to get more generous, and so you want to go see people that don't have much.
Yeah.
And so
That's great.
right? Or maybe there's an activity in your city of serving that you can engage in. Like, I really don't understand. Like, I see homeless people on the street or someone begging, and it creeps me out, and I'm like angry. Like, I want to grow in that. Well, go serve somebody and get to know their story a little bit. And guess what? It's going to change your whole perspective.
Yeah,
so
it's helpful.
Right? What about another way of getting experience is, what about you enroll in a class, like at a local college or something? Tina and I are actually thinking about if it all works out with travel, we're going to take Spanish classes.
Oh, cool.
Right. So that's not one of our heavy categories. It's more of a bucket list thing, but it's an area we want to grow in because the world is big and changing, and so much of it speaks that language. We're like, you know what? My son speaks that language. I'm like, we want to learn it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So part of being a lifelong learner too, and I'm thinking, I read somewhere that like when you learn language, it's just like music. We're both musicians and songwriters.
Sure.
There's like synapses that, get built, rebuilt, reinforced. And so as I'm kind of getting old and feeling forgetful, I'm like, maybe if I learn another language,
That'll help
prop me up a little bit. Okay. And then here's the third way to like engage in lifelong learning. And this was the one that you dipped into. And I think a lot of people go there, and it's probably because it's the easiest to engage in today, lifelong, learning and low hanging fruit. And that's pick a good book to read in each of your top categories each year.
Okay.
And then read it, like finish the thing.
Yeah.
I'd say most people have like 5 or 6 books, like 2 or 3 chapters in there, right? And I'm going to advocate, don't be that person. Throw those out if you need to, or put them back on the shelf for recategorization. But I really think part of being a lifelong learner, there again, intentionality, pick the books in each category that you want to read, and then read those things. And maybe even give yourself a deadline, like I want to get this read this month, or maybe that's too fast. So in the next 8 weeks, I'm going to finish that book.
Have you found it helpful to stick with that one book rather than going, I got 4 books open?
That's what I'm saying. So if you're going like, okay, I think it's really solid. If you're married, read a book on marriage. There's a million really good ones out there.
Sure.
Every year, you're going to, trust me, you're going to learn something, and your spouse, your husband's going to be grateful. Your wife's going to be grateful. And so read that book through to completion. Now, there again, it's not the task of, I read the book, check. It's like engage that learning.
Yeah.
Part of being a lifelong learner, engage it. So talk about it with others. Talk about it with your spouse if it was a marriage book.
Sure.
If it's something to do with your career, engage people at work about that. Talk to your immediate supervisor, your boss, whatever, and say, hey, I'm learning this. How will that help? How can I best apply that to be a benefit to the team here or this company, right? And that's also modeling something. But I'd say finish it and super engage it before you move on.
Yeah, Kathleen and I had done that a while back with a book on marriage, actually, where I knew that she would go to bed and read about a chapter a night. And I said, hey, let's read a book together. And so she'd lay there and I'd read the chapter and we'd be able to discuss it. And so it was something that together we were doing, and it also fit a rhythm of life that built into her love language of quality time. It was a win-win across the board. And it did help in that season, making us feel like, man, we're actually firing together. It's not, Heath, you've read this really great book on marriage. I don't get what you're talking about. It was a really helpful way for us both to engage that.
Yeah, and you might not have even believed or agreed on everything in the book you read, but then you discussed it, so you still learned from it. See what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
I don't know if
absolutely.
we really believe that or agree with that, So either way, it was a benefit. So some people think like, well, I'm just not a reader or whatever. Um, I think you can be.
Yeah.
Most people, most people probably hearing this podcast have read and do read, and maybe they've fallen out of the habit of it, or they only saw learning and reading as like when I had to,
Yeah.
college or whatever, something at work. I'm not talking about reading, like 8 hours a day. I'm saying most people could finish a book a month
Yeah.
if they read about an hour or so, 2 to 3 times a week.
Yeah.
And in my own life, I'll just be honest, when I'm not kind of like, why am I not finishing these books? This is me, I can almost draw a perfectly straight line to a lot of TV watching lately. So like, do I really need that rerun of that? Or do I need to pick up that brand new show? Like, oh, it kind of looks interesting. Or you go like, no, I'm not gonna, because that'll be an hour a week
Sure.
forever that I could just go ahead and put into that book. And I guarantee if I grow in that area of my life, way more benefit to myself and others and the kingdom and all that.
Now, where would you put in like a time or energy to things that are just not books, like we talked about, like great DVD series, great parenting series that we could sit and watch for 45
I mean, I
minutes?
think if a person was really clever and wanted to be creative about this, take these 3 categories. So time with people who know more than you, right? And
Right.
some sort of an experience that you can go out and learn in, and book reading, and map all of those into your categories. So you know what? I think the best thing for like this area would be an experience going out and serving the poor or something like
Yeah.
that, or a marriage conference, right? And then I'm going to do that this month. So I'm not even reading this month.
Yeah.
Don't feel like you have to overlap everything in the whole world, right? And you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
We're not trying to win anything here, like or beat a contest or show everybody our list, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
What we're just saying is you've taken the time to prioritize the categories in your life. Now that immediately gives some intentionality, and you're saying, let me slot something in, maybe like one a month,
Sure.
into one of those
Those
areas.
things.
Yeah.
All right. So now you've got like the
that
bait
kinda making
is-
sense?
Yeah, it makes total sense.
Great.
And I've bit the hook. And so my question is like, what are you reading right now? What recommendations? I'm assuming you have some for people that are listening.
Well, I might just.
Why don't you share with us what's in your mind?
Yeah, surprise. I might just. Well, I read a pretty wide range of authors. It's
Okay.
kind of like my music listening. People are like, huh, I just looking through your iPod, dude. You have, it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I love classical and I really love super heavy, guitars. Anyway,
Sure.
I'm all over the map. Same with writing. And I read a pretty wide thing. Some are newer, some are already dead. Actually, I really love reading, dead guys.
Yeah, me too.
And anyway, or gals, whatever. So here's the thing. I put together a list of my top 20 like books. I don't have time to go over them all right now, but let me give you just a few to kind of give people an idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if they download the big 3, which we'll talk about in a minute, part of the big 3 this week is going to be a link to my sort of like Uber top 20 list. And
Oh,
that'll-
sweet.
And if people trust me at all,
Yeah.
and trust us, then it's a good place to start. Okay, so let me just real quick kind of give you a few to kind of give you the idea.
Right.
Top marriage book to get on your list for this year, The Meaning of Marriage by Tim Keller.
It's a fantastic book.
Wow. I mean,
Yeah.
when I read that book and I remember thinking, okay, I've been married like 20 something years when I read it,
Yeah.
I wish I'd read it a really long time ago. I gave it to my son before he got married, and him and his now wife read it. He goes, changed everything, Dad. And no offense, a lot of this, I don't think you knew when we were little. I'm like, no, it totally did.
Yeah.
But it's really affecting my, so it's like top,
Great
okay?
book.
Top book on parenting that you're going to want to look into. I mean, there's so many, right? But especially if you're younger parents, read Grace-Based Parenting by Dr. Tim Kimmel.
Okay.
So first one was Dr. Tim Keller. The Grace-Based Parenting is Dr. Tim Kimmel. Here's a book that is older, okay?
Okay.
Like it's been around quite a while, but it's a must-read or it's a reread, and it hits family, marriage, parenting, all of it. And it's The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman.
Gary Chapman, yeah.
5 love languages, right? Talk about an oldie but a goodie.
Sure.
And they re-up it and they tweak it, every couple of years. I was just listening to him on the radio the other day. I was like, who's this guy? It's so fresh. Oh, it's Gary, yeah, So if you've never read it, you must. And if it's been years, I'd say reread it.
Sure.
And I originally read it for like my marriage, but then we read it in light of our kids. I think they even have like, 5
they
love
do have a
languages
version for kids, yeah.
and for teens and all. Super powerful. Okay. Top book for growing in character. And this is from my favorite author ever. It's the book Humility by Andrew Murray.
Yeah. Speaking of the old dead guys.
Right.
A
I mean,
great
Andrew
book.
Murray wrote like 150 books. They're all pretty short, but they'll peel you like a grape. Like literally you go like, that's the shortest chapter I ever read. And I have to stop now because I'm like undone.
Brain is fried.
Yeah, it's so good. So, I mean, Humility by Andrew Murray. I need to read that again. I used to try to read it every year. I haven't read it in a while. Here's one of my other annual reads, and I try to read it all the time, and it will forever change your prayer life. It's The Practice of the Presence of God by Brother Lawrence. Practice of the Presence of God by Brother Lawrence. He was a monk. He wrote this book as like a series of letters to his family and friends over like 300 years ago in France.
Sure.
And it's very short, and it'll completely change your whole understanding of prayer and practice of prayer. I'm not joking. So,
Wow.
and could I add my own book, Transformed, to the list for people, if you want to grow in the area of community,
Absolutely.
discipleship. So that'd be, it's been a blessing to a lot of people, and you can get that, anywhere you want. Okay.
Yeah, it's great, man. As we start to wrap up and we think about our big three, we try every week to do the 3 takeaways that people can leave with and be encouraged by.
Yep.
You can get that download actually of the big 3 that would also include your list of like stellar books. For
My
this
top 20.
Your top
Yeah.
20. That's going to be
The
part
power
of
list.
the power list for free. All you have to do to get that is go to everydaydisciple.com/big 3.
Yeah, you'll
It's
see
so
a
easy.
big banner that says Big 3, click, free, done. Yeah,
Yeah.
get it.
Caesar, talk us through the big 3 for this week.
Okay, number 1. This is big. Determine that you want to become or stay a lifelong learner. First step. If you just go like, well, I'm going to look at a list and maybe I'll read a book this year. It's like, okay, better than not. But actually determine I want to be a lifelong learner. Okay. For yourself, for those that in your life that you love or those you lead, and also for the next generation that's going to follow you. Make a commitment. Tell people that are important to you in your life that you've made this decision. You know how it is. If you share some, listen, I'm going to really be trying to.
Some accountability.
Yeah, I'm going to be engaging some smart people. I'm going to be engaging some new books, some new experience. And I'd love it if you ask me how that's going. Maybe we can do it together, right? Get a friend, learn, a lot of commonalities with, do it together. Make that decision and calendar some reading time into your week as a rhythm right now. Just like, we calendar in lots of things.
Yeah.
Because, you got to go to work, you got to pay the bills, you got to, get your kids up at a certain time, got to make lunches, clean the
there's a lot
house.
going on.
There's a lot. So schedule it in if it's important to you. So that's part of that becoming, deciding to. And then find an hour or two in the next 3 to 4 days, or even today, to prioritize the areas of your life that you want to start to grow and learn in.
Yeah.
That's step 1. So commit to it and then make that list. Number 2 is glean the wisdom of others. Kind of already talked about that. So contact people from your church or work or friends or teachers or professors, or you could even read an article like in a paper or magazine and contact a person, and say, hey, could I get on the phone with you? Could I get with you? I really want to learn and be better in this area. I tell you, people are flattered by it and they want to do it. And here's another tip too. So first up, get those meetings scheduled.
Okay.
Prepare questions that you want to ask them in advance of your time together so that it's valuable. You're not just like, well,
Wasting
man.
their time.
Yeah, right. Or your own, right? And then take notes of what they say, or like record your sessions so you can kind of follow up, listen to it again, drive it, hear it a couple of times, right? Okay, number 3 then, and we talked a lot about this, probably the lowest hanging fruit, is make a list of the books that you plan to read in the upcoming 6 or 12 months. So you take your categories, or, and it's like, okay, on these ones, it's going to be a book. Is it every other month? Is it every month because you read fast, whatever?
Yep.
And, and remember then, pick a killer book in each of your top categories each year. I kind of like to do that even if you're doing experiences in those areas.
Sure.
But, time is limited, right? So do what you need to, and then commit to time to read each week. Get started on one right away. Like pick, get my list. Maybe you already know some books, whatever, and pick your categories and then pick a book and get started. And I wouldn't be, like we said earlier, I wouldn't be the person that's got 4 or 5 books going on at the same time.
Sure.
Right? And so
that's great.
That's what I do. And like you said, if people want to download the big 3, my top 20 list will be right there included with it.
Man, I haven't even seen your power list yet. So as soon as we're done here, I'm going to sign up.
Cool.
So that I can get
Cool.
that. Because I'm excited to see what you're reading, what you're suggesting.
Some of it's new and some of it will be like, these are classics. And like, I either, read them all the time or reread them, or if you haven't, like, start there kind of thing.
Okay, that's great. Unfortunately, time is up. It always goes so fast.
Man, flies.
Like I look at the clock and I'm like, I want to keep going.
But I like being this. We get a lot of feedback like, wow, you guys pack a lot into like under a half hour.
Yeah.
So good. I hope this one
it's
has been
helpful
the
for
same.
people.
Great.
Yeah. So thanks for joining us. If you want that free download of this week's Big 3 takeaways, go to everydaydisciple.com/big3, and we're going to send them right to your inbox. And one thing that's super helpful for us as we're sitting here recording these podcasts is to hear what you're thinking about them. And one of the ways that we want to get this podcast out to even more people is that iTunes really recognizes when you subscribe and you rate and comment review this show. So if you don't mind doing that, jump over to iTunes, give us as many stars as you feel generous to give us.
Well, just doing that helps, get it out to, like you said, other people. And it
Yeah.
blesses us when we're not, the show's free, the classes are, we're giving it away. But that, kind of paid forward kind of idea, right?
Yeah, and then another way that you can engage the conversation even further is if you just jump on Facebook and you search for Everyday Disciple Podcast. We've got a group on there that we discuss some of these episodes, and there's some good comments. You and I are both engaging in the
Yep.
conversation.
So if you want to see us, talk to us, ask us questions about the show, that's the place. Go just and say, hey, I want to be invited. You got to, join.
Yep.
And then you get approved, a couple hours later or whatever, whenever we see that pop up in our Facebook. So yeah, just look up Everyday Disciple Podcast on Facebook, and it's the only way.
Yeah. Hey, next week is going to be a good week. We're going to talk about how to have a much bigger gospel, one that touches absolutely every area of life. Because as we've shared in the past, the gospel is not just a ticket to get out of hell. It's infiltrating every part of our lives, which is why we even started this podcast.
Yep, it's so much bigger. And so we're going to, that's going to be a really fun, cool episode.
Yeah, lots to learn.
Thanks for joining us today. For more information on this show and to get loads of free discipleship resources, visit everydaydisciple.com. And remember, you really can live with the spiritual freedom and relational peace that Jesus promised every day.
Hey, before you go, just one quick reminder. If today's episode got you thinking about what disciple making could actually look like in your everyday life, we put together a simple 7-day disciple making reset to help you take the next step. It's practical, it's doable, and it's designed to help things actually stick. You can jump in at everydaydisciple.com/reset. That's everydaydisciple.com/reset. All right? Talk to you soon.